Hey guys, it's Jake, and I wanted to share with you the electronic medical record pricing guide that'll help you determine the advantages and disadvantages of certain pricing models for your EMR. So let me turn the time over to a webcast, and I'm going to show you my screen. We're going to run through the pricing models, the ranges, some of the costs that you don't expect, and then some questions that you can ask yourself when determining if this EMR is the best fit for you. Alright, so I'm going to go over this fairly quickly, but just to give you a real down and dirty look of what you can expect when you're looking for pricing structures for EMRs. So here I'm going to present the pricing guide for electronic medical records. So what we're going to cover is pricing models, pricing ranges, overlooked cost, and questions for you to answer when you're looking at an EMR software. So the pricing models. So there's two ways: a perpetual license, which is basically an upfront cost for your EMR system. So it's kind of a dated model. A lot of the stuff is on-premise application, like you're going to install a server or something like that. That's why there's a large upfront cost. The newer model, which is kind of more modern, is a subscription. So it's a monthly fee to use a software until you decide you don't want to use it, or if you just love it and you keep paying, you're just going to be charged a normal fee, maybe it's per user, each month. So when you're looking at the prices by the model, perpetual license is a little high. Well, it's actually really high for your beginning costs or your upfront costs. Obviously, with that, the recurring costs are lower because you put up such an upfront investment. Other costs like training and stuff like that, which we're going to get into, aren't as high. With a subscription, the costs are low. Okay, because it is a per user, which means that they can charge a lot lower, which is great because it's scalable. So if you have a smaller business or smaller practice, that type of EMR modeling price model is going to be a lot better. Recurring costs, again, are depending on what you're trying to do. If you're using custom templates, it might be a little more pricey, but for the most part, it's still pretty low. Other costs also low. Because of the way that they've able to systemize the software so that you're not paying a lot more down the road. So price ranges. So let's look at some of the costs with upfront and reoccurring in a perpetual license. So you get a perpetual license fee, so that's upfront. Customizations. What we've seen with subscriptions or softwares as a service is they're really customizable already, and they've systemized it so much through the testing that they really don't need to do much customization, where perpetual license are a little dated, so there is a need for customization, which can be really expensive. The install, like we talked about, if they're coming on premise and installing a server, that's going to get really pricey. Integration and data migration across the board are fairly inexpensive, but depending on how many clients and users you have, it could be expensive. Maintenance and upgrades, especially if you have a software like this, or a server, can get really expensive when they have upgrades, or if you're downloading a software to your desktop, there will be constant upgrades and maybe cost not very cost friendly. The next one is the subscription cost. So upfront costs, really not much other than maybe some customizations depending on what field you're going into. There are specific niche EMRs or EHRs for your field, so hopefully you can find those niche EMRs so that there is not much customization going on. Install and setup, very low to none really, unless you're doing some data migration. And then reoccurring costs are just the subscription fees. Sometimes there's support service fees, but not very likely. Okay, so I actually plugged this into softwareadvice.com, which I'll probably show you here in a second, just what it looks like. So when you have a perpetual license, obviously there's a huge upfront fee. In this case, we picked a $100,000 upfront fee. And as you can see, there are some ongoing costs of customization, different things like that, some monthly server fees, where you look at a subscription and it's just a constant, over time, yes, you are going to pay more based on your users, and so this is just a total addition to year after year. But as you can see, it's never catching up. So subscription models, especially for a smaller practice, that type of model is probably best for you. So I'm actually going to turn over to the website that I got this from so you can kind of look at it for yourself to see how I got my numbers. Okay, so this is the website that I went to. As you can see, softwareadvice.com/TCO. So basically, we're looking at on-premise versus software as a service, and this is the chart that I took a screenshot of. So the subscription annual fee, that was basically like 50 clients that people were using at a $37 rate. Which is our price, our lowest price. As you can see here, perpetual license. Okay, so this one is at 60,000 plus some other fees here, as you can see. Some install, major upgrades. As you can see with the subscription, that is not the case. Customization, major upgrades. Customization, maybe $2,000. I kind of overestimated that. Migration, those are probably going to be the same. Depends on how many clients you actually have. The training costs, like this is where you can get pretty pricey. If you have intuitive software, like some of the subscription models out there, their EMRs are really easy, especially with Notation Matrix. It's super simple and intuitive. The first time that you actually go through it, especially the way we've pre-written our notes, is really you can train yourself. But we're there for you, but it's no additional cost. So the maintenance fees, here's the 12,000. Nothing here on software as a service. Hardware, look at this. We're just keep adding up. All right, so this is kind of the things that you need to look for in a perpetual license. So let's go back to the presentation. So as we look at a perpetual license for different practices, as you can see, we kind of use that tool to gauge the prices. A small practice, these are the upfront fees plus ongoing fees. It's interesting enough, they call them not subscription fees, but you're still paying for stuff reoccurring. So why not just already set up with a reoccurring fee and not pay an upfront cost? Here's what it looks like with the subscription price range. Okay, so it's $37 per user or facility, ranging to $550 on a small practice. Obviously, these are ballpark numbers because small, medium, and large practices do have a wide range of doctors and clinicians and stuff on staff. Okay, so overlook costs. We kind of went over those costs as you saw with the server updates, the training, the different upgrades that you need. But just keep looking at these, like data migration. Are you going to do it in-house? Is it a third party? How much are they going to charge for that third party? Is it going to be an upfront fee, or is it just going to be based on users? Most of the time, the EMRs have worked out a deal where you can kind of piggyback based on the volume that they're doing. Training, is it web-based? Is it in-person? Hopefully you're finding a system that doesn't require in-person training, but if you do have a large staff, that's something that you might want to do, just so you can get everybody in the same room and focused. The hardware and IT, like we talked about, if you're using a server and stuff's on site, it's going to be a little more expensive. So questions to answer: is it a monthly or a one-time fee, and are there recurring costs with that one-time fee? Something you want to look at. Your options, how customizable are the templates? Do you even need to customize them? When you customize them, is it one time or is it ongoing fees? Are there setup and data migration costs? Is it a web-based or in-person training? Is that something that's included? Something you want to know? Do you need your own server, or is it just web-based? Web-based is more likely going to be a lot cheaper. All right, guys, so we're going to wrap this up. Thank you guys for watching the electronic medical records pricing guide. If you want to check out the Notation Matrix pricing, just go to our website. It's notationmatrix.com. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, subscribe or share this with a friend.